second left.
I called Les Miles a thief yesterday on Twitter.
Which,
got a lot of reaction.
What spurned it? The cameo?
Yeah, the cameo. Because there was a cameo tweet that was put out for the weekend with, I guess, somebody requesting Miles to give wedding wishes to some newlyweds who were getting married over the weekend.
Classic Miles fashion in terms of his statements.
Absolutely.
They're roundabout.
Never turning down an opportunity to be the center of attention. Miles sitting in his Kansas office wearing Kansas gear, gives the wedding wishes to the newlyweds, and then gives them a "Go Tigers" with Kansas's football field in the background.
Oh, come on.
And the Kansas logo.
That don't matter, dude. You're being
on his chest. And I quote tweeted it and said, I'd be loyal to a place that I stole $50 million from too.
That's the thing, though. He ain't loyal to LSU. He's loyal to that money. I am so shocked by some of the people that are on Cameo. I mean, maybe it's just fun. Like they just like doing it. But I get it. It's like very easy money to make, but I just think about Les Miles and the contracts he's had and everything, and like there's no reason that he would need to be on Cameo financially. I guess maybe he goes, that's what he goes back to. Yeah, I guess so. I
mean, Les loves the attention. He's got to be the center of it. He can't help himself.
But here's the deal. Did he really steal $50 million?
Yes.
Two SEC championships.
Actually, the thief.
One natty.
Actually, the
played
thief
for another.
The thief in the entire matter was Joe Oliva. Was the real.
Okay. Again, though.
Thief.
Oliva.
Because he's the one that paid him.
Again,
he's the one that agreed to those terms. I get what he accomplished, and the argument of my stance by calling him the worst coach in LSU football. I get why it doesn't make a lot of sense because of what he accomplished. I'm going by the resources and what he had at his disposal. I mean, at an arm's length, the resources that he did not take advantage of is always going to come back to me in my stance on Les Miles. I thought he wasted more talent than any coach could probably see in a lifetime. In his 11-year run at LSU, he didn't take advantage of the resources like a shadow staff, like bringing in analysts.
Which, in his defense, though, this was all new. This was Nick Saban just creating this. It wasn't fresh. I mean, it was a couple of years in existence.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it was 3 or 4 years in existence, and Miles would just continually allow his competition to run circles around him, and then he would try to bank on smoke and mirrors and to try to beat you in the fall. And a lot of times that would work because he just had better players than the other team. But when it came down to a team that had just as good or comparable talent to him and he had to coach around that, he always let LSU down. And I thought that he was, from that standpoint, a massive, massive disappointment and will always be, in my eyes, looked like as I get the national championship in 2007, and that was a great year, and he tried like hell to screw that season up, and was able to backdoor into the national championship with the best team in college football that season. That 2007 team you were on it. I mean, you know it. I mean, y'all were loaded. That was the best team in the sport.
Yeah, still probably shouldn't have given up like 50 points to Woodson or whatever the Kentucky quarterback was at the time.
I mean, Jared LeBlanc says, Jordy, if you get $50 million, you're taking it. Yes.
Well, nobody's saying
bro.
that.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
I'm not blaming Miles for taking the money. I'm blaming the people around Miles for paying him more than I am Miles accepting it.
This is where it just gets so odd because Joe Oliva paid him. But Joe Oliva also hired Will Wade. He also hired Coach O. Like he made some damn good moves there as well. How do you respond to this, Jordy? Nicole Steelwatt says, LOL, Les being a glory hog? What about Rona press conferences, cable news outlets, following all the politicians? Question mark, question mark, question mark.
I would say I don't consider an attention slut like Les Miles. Like I consider Miles would never run away from any camera, anything. I mean, Orgeron to me is being criticized because people want more public statements from him.
That's fair. In this most recent news cycle, but see, I think that's where a lot of the disconnect comes in this recent news cycle, is he had this very public facing profile all off season, And then in the social justice news cycle of the last few weeks, he's kind of been taking more of a backseat role. And so I think that's where some people are feeling disconnected about what this offseason has been like in that regard.
Yeah, and I think if you listen to him, a lot of those matters about his team are always handled in-house.
That's true. He's been consistent on that.
And I don't think that there's any difference in this matter. I mean, I think that there is obviously this is more of a polarizing matter than what they've dealt with. And a lot of his getting out in front and being in the media was more of a push to try and get football back. I mean, he wanted to be the voice of and face, and I think he became that, in becoming the voice of trying to urge the public to get football back into action.
Yeah, that's fair. And look, and you know, he won a natty, so you kind of do what you want at that point. He has to avoid what I do believe Coach Miles definitely had an element of, which is after he did win that natty, he, you know, coaches already have these unbelievable egos. I think his kind of grew to the size, and then we obviously saw how it negatively affected him because he just believed in his way and his self so much that he refused to adapt. So now, Coach O, who has his entire comeback that he has had post Ole Miss, has been built on the concept of adapting and of being open to change and delegating and all of these things. He just has to carry that strategy. You know, continue on the horse that got you here, right? Don't let the championship change you. Don't let the big break change you. I'm not saying there's any reason to think that it has so far, but it's, you know, well these are answers that only time will reveal.
Yeah, and look, I understand that my stance on Miles gets a lot of people, it rubs a lot of people the wrong way because of what he accomplished here. But in covering him, you know, it was frustrating in the sense that you couldn't get any clear thoughts out of the head coach. He would never give you anything directly, and I think that's one thing that's more that has been more refreshing in covering Orgeron is if you're looking at the honesty scale from coaches. I think that Les and Orgeron would probably be the deciding factors. I mean, Les overly lies to you to the point where he would put all of his kickers in the same jersey number so he could try to hide who was going to be the kicker.
Yeah.
God forbid he tell you anybody that was hurt. I mean, yesterday he told you that Coy Moore, or Tuesday he told you Coy Moore was banged up here. 2 weeks ago he told you that Austin Deculus had missed time. I mean, that's stuff that he doesn't even have to do.
O's a straight shooter in public. He really is. He gives you a lot of information that a lot of and I agree with it just because, like, I don't really believe in the competitive advantages that some coaches think they are getting. Like, I think it was it Lincoln Riley? I don't want to misspeak here, but, you know, I follow – no, it was the Packers. Packers reporters right now. I just follow kind of random beat writers. Matt LaFleur has banned them from talking about depth charts.
What?
He has banned them from talking about who's taking first or second team reps. He has banned them from talking about who is available. It is absurd.
Like, to me, that takes more energy to put that information out there than whether to just be asked about it and just say no comment.
Well, it's like you're going to lose the opening game, and it's like, well, Foley, freaking off the bench, hadn't talked about the backup quarterback battle. We would have been fine.
Guys, this goes back to week 2 of training camp when you kept pounding and asking me about the depth chart.
Yeah, dude. You really care about the backup? Yeah, so it's coaches. And I think the argument would be, if we want to give them the benefit of the doubt, it's that, like, okay, and when the stakes are this high and everybody's this good, the margins that you gain advantages in are very small, right? And so you're always looking for these percentage point advantages that you can grab. And I imagine that's how the coaches view it. I just think that sounds absolutely absurd. Like Jordy said, that's a commitment to, like, thinking about something that I don't know that you should actually waste any time on that. The starters are going to be the starters. You're going to have to go out there and play no matter what. Just focus on winning the game, not what the local radio show is saying about your depth chart.
Amazing. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, even to give you an idea of the leadership today compared to where LSU was, I mean, this radio show off the bench would get on an average of 2 phone calls per week from the LSU athletic administration when Joe Oliva was running that place because of something that we said here on the air that he may have disagreed with. I mean, it finally got to a point where it was like, hey, man, Just do your job. Quit listening to the sports radio. And that goes back to the NCAA rant that I had last week on Will Wade when I was saying that the NCAA wants to win the PR battle because they have the feeling that they have leadership at LSU that will fold to public pressure, much like Joe Oliva did, a lot of the time that he was on campus. He would constantly fold to the things that were happening around him rather than be the leader that he was paid to be, right? And what the NCAA is hoping for, in my opinion, is to win a PR battle where the public pressure just collapses the LSU leadership and they just say, you know what? Hey, man, Will Wade, you got to go because all this PR stuff that's happening around us, we can't manage, so we just got to let you go. Because the NCAA, like I said last week, it seems like they don't have a lot of tangible, hard evidence facts. So they're just hoping that they can win the war by LSU bailing them out and saying, you know what, we got the public pressure on this thing's just too much. We got to let you go. And the NCAA can come out and say, see, I told you so. He was cheating. Well, show us where. When? How? Well, we can't do that. LSU fired him. Well, LSU just standing strong, standing in the face of adversity right now and telling the NCAA, prove it.
At this point, at this point in the Wade situation, you're pot committed. I think.
Yeah,
if you're
but I'm
LSU.
just giving an example. I'm just giving an example of the type of leadership that LSU was experiencing during that time to where they are now.
See, but this is interesting though, right? Because to play devil's advocate here, leadership is always something that ultimately is going to be judged with the benefit of hindsight. Okay, and so that's why good leaders get paid so much, right?
In present tense. I'm judging Greg Sankey. I think that Greg Sankey's done a tremendous job in leading through this COVID-19 pandemic.
But we didn't always think that. We didn't always think
we didn't. But that was in the moment, because in the moment you were saying, where is the leader? Where is the voice? Where is the commissioner of the SEC? And now, even though he's been quiet a little bit in the background,
it
looks like he's been a pretty effective leader.
Yeah, it's a pretty good strategy. But even that, right? We've talked about it. This is a high stakes game that the three conferences are playing against the two conferences. If something goes wrong and you have a nightmare scenario and a player gets really sick or something, then all of a sudden everything kind of flips, right? And suddenly Kevin Warren's the proactive leader that took a stand for the players, and these other conferences and Greg Sankey company then become, money grubbing people who are just looking to exploit their labor and put them in harm's way. Like, so that's all I'm saying. Like, if Will Wade does end up getting in trouble and does end up going on, then Joe Oliva, then it's like, okay, well, you know what? Maybe he was right to do what he did. But then if he doesn't, then you're like, well, he was absolutely wrong to do what he did. And thankfully, you got Scott Woodward in here, and now he's had LSU's back. But yeah, I mean, look, as far as the Wade situation goes, like, you ride or die.
Well, I didn't mean to get back to the Wade situation. I was just trying to use an example.
Relevant. Yeah.
All right, so we'll listen to. We got sound from Sean Payton, Andrus Peat, and some others from the New Orleans Saints training camp that's happening right now. Saints and the rest of the NFL got to get down to 53 by 3 o'clock on Saturday. NFL season is a week from tonight. Houston and KC kick off the NFL season next Thursday night. Saints host Leonard Fournette, Tom Brady, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next Sunday in the Dome. We'll talk NFL next.